Here we go, everyone. My name's Eric Keaton. Welcome to the For All podcast, live on YouTube, Facebook, and of course, the audio version will be available later on your favorite podcast provider. We are loaded today. We have Paul Guzzo from the Tampa Bay Times talking about his Colonel Tom Parker story related to the Elvis movie, and also Kip Koelsch is here to talk about his cats and a lot of the great books that he has available for everyone here in the Tampa Bay area and beyond. And of course, we have some topics to help you take care of your pets during these hot summer days. My goodness. But first, we have barking news. That's right. You like to call it breaking news in the real news world, but we call it barking news. Did you hear about the Westminster Kennel Club dog show and the bloodhound named Trumpet? He was crowned best in show last week. And this is something, I tell you, when I keep reading all these news stories, I did not know that the Westminster was the second oldest continuous sporting event next to another animal event, the Kentucky Derby. Who would have thunk it? We're learning something new every day. But our best in show has to be Bear. We have 150 animals up for adoption, but that guy is not one of them, because after 150 days, Bear, and that's his new owner, they finally have hooked up. He has his new forever home. And you see that little number behind the new owner there, 1,483. That was last week. If we have not surpassed 1,500 adoptions, we're getting pretty close. Because as I mentioned, we had 45 dogs on the adoption floor right now, including Kiko that you'll get to meet later, 64 cats, including 20 plus kittens, 45 critters, and 2 pigs. We had 60 adoptions last week. That is barking news. So we celebrate, and hopefully when we open, we'll get some of those adoption numbers up and some of those animals moved off the floor like Bear, because we do have some animals that have been here approaching those 100 days. And remember, the reason that QR code is on the screen is because it costs $25 a day to care for each animal here at SPCA Tampa Bay. If you'd like to make a gift, please just scan that QR code and it will lead you to our donation pages. Or you can go to our website, learn about the animals in our care, and also learn about volunteering. But we're going to learn more about the connection of Colonel Tom Parker. And of course, he managed Elvis Presley his entire career. And for me, learning about Colonel Tom Parker, that he was, as the reporter from the Tampa Bay Times would say, Paul Guzzo would say that he is famous or infamous. I had no idea this connection. Paul, welcome to our For All podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Paul, you've been doing this for quite a while with the Times, since the late 90s. And we were talking earlier before we started the podcast. You knew of this connection. I did not. You know, how long ago did you know about Colonel Tom Parker being a dog catcher with the Humane Society?
I would say, let's see, I've lived in Tampa since '99, and I would say shortly after I moved here, I learned about him. You know, the great Ted Webb, who passed away recently, the radio personality. I've been friends with him since shortly after I moved here, and he was just such a deep source of local pop culture history. And so he's the one who told me about it. He asked if I'm an Elvis fan. I said, yeah, kind of, before my time. But he told me this story about, Tom Parker. And it's always been in my, it's always been in my head, like always looking for an excuse to write about it. And the Elvis movie came out, and I understood that Tom Hanks was playing Parker. And really the movie is as much about Parker as Elvis. So I thought that just a great time to remind Tampa about this unique history.
I don't want to turn this into a Ted Webb podcast, but he was awesome. I worked a year and a half with Ted doing some high school football a long time ago. And you talk about a person who knew Tampa Bay's history. It was Ted Webb. And I like how you were able to include all that into the article. What was some of the fascinating new things that you found out about Colonel Tom Parker being in the area and being a dog catcher when you were writing this article?
Well, the most fascinating thing that I did not know was that until doing this was the percentage that Tom Parker took from Elvis. I mean, 50% is, that's outrageous. I think
Yeah.
typically you're supposed to get 10%, but that didn't really have much to do with the dog catching. I just found the stories about him funny. He came here as a carny, basically. Tampa was where a lot of the carnival workers stayed during the winter when the show, got off the road. And so he was introduced to Tampa as a carny. And one of his most famous gags, I guess, was dancing chickens. He would put chickens on a hot plate, like live chickens, and as their feet would burn, they would dance. And I guess it's kind of ironic that a man like that would then later go on to care for animals. Some of the stories about him say he really only took the job as a dog catcher because it was a free apartment and a free car. You got to drive the van. But he was just, while doing the research for this story, I went into newspaper archives and put in his name. And I was blown away that the dog catcher was in the paper just about weekly. He knew how to get into the press, whether it was dressing up as Santa Claus to hand out puppies during the holiday season, making up these crazy stories that Ted Webb put on his website. He doesn't think all were true. Taking like puppies from a bunch of different mothers, putting them together with one, and calling a newspaper reporter and saying this puppy's had dozens of puppies, or this mother's had dozens of puppies this week. You got to come check it out. Or claiming he rescued cats from 10-foot holes and stuff like that. I guess you can never tell what was real and what wasn't.
I know. I found that as the chief marketing officer here at SPCA Tampa Bay, I'm reading some of this like going, if I walked in to my team and I said, here's the deal, guys, this is our story. We're going to put all these litters together and say that they came from one, the room would get silent. They'd look at me like, are you out of your mind? That would never work. But I guess, that shows how he was able, at least back then in the 50s and 60s and 40s, to get the press from a promoting standpoint. The guy knew his material. He knew how to get Elvis. He knew how to get people in front of his product. And do you think at the end, as you mentioned earlier, was it because he loved animals or because he loved to make money?
Yeah, I can't say for certain, but it just seems like he more enjoyed the showmanship of it. Again, he came from a carnival background, running the games, running the sideshows. And a lot of that is just convincing the public that what they're seeing in these sideshows is real. So you could call him a con man. And I think Tom Hanks even said in an interview, you could put a positive spin on that or a negative spin. There's, I guess, a positive way to say you're a con man if you're doing it in an entertaining way. He knew how to sell people on a product. And as the story goes, he was the first one to really see potential in Elvis. He booked him after he left Tampa and put his dog catching ways behind him. He went back into show business, managed a couple country singers, started booking his own shows, and he just booked Elvis just because he was just an up and coming artist. He wasn't a big name yet, and he saw the potential in him, and just really took him on what we would call a barnstorming tour around the country, small venues, grew him into this nationally known act, started putting him on TV and movies. And I mean, even Elvis himself said, without Tom Parker, there's no Elvis.
And without Elvis, there's no Tom Parker. Hey,
I think there still would be a Tom Parker. Locally, he would still be remembered. He was enough of a local personality.
Right. Yeah.
I think even if he didn't become a famous rock and roll manager, there'd still be stories about him.
But the whole international, and obviously, I think more people like myself knew about Colonel Tom Parker after Elvis's death. Mm-hmm. As we were saying before we went on the air, he was kind of always in the back of my mind. But I'm always amazed at how well the Tampa Bay Times finds a connection with a huge story and that make that connection with what's going on here in Tampa. Like your article, I had no idea that Elvis was here in Florida and being hidden at the Humane Society for a number of his concerts. That'd be like Taylor Swift coming here for a concert and she'd be hiding at SPCA Tampa Bay. That doesn't happen now because you have these great hotels. Mm-hmm. But were you amazed about how many times that Elvis had actually been here, that duo, and coming back to the Tampa Bay area?
Well, I'm not wasn't too amazed by that because Tampa, that armory in West Tampa was a huge spot for concerts.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, like every big name went there. I did a story years back. James Brown used to perform there. I mean, if there was a big name artist, they would perform there. That was really the big concert hall in Tampa, which is crazy to think. We no air conditioning. I think they were allowed to smoke inside, so there was no ventilation. I've talked to people who used to go to the shows or even at the athletic events there that said if you were lucky enough to see through the thick cloud of smoke, you could enjoy the show.
When are you going to see the movie to kind of round out? Obviously, any movie is going to be, not everything is going to be a 110% the truth. It's going to be made for movie drama. But when are you going to see the Elvis movie to kind of become full circle with learning about Tom Hanks and how he portrayed Colonel Tom Parker?
Hopefully next week. I start a 3-week vacation on Monday. I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to go check out a few movies while I'm off.
Awesome. Before we let you go, everybody always likes to know from our guests, how many animals you have, who are they, where did you get them?
I have 5 cats and 1 dog. Our first cat was a rescue. Our first 2 were rescued. Our next 3 we got from a friend whose cat got outside and, ended up having a litter. And then our dog is also a rescue.
Oh, good for you, Paul. Anything to add about an upcoming article that you have or finishing up on the Colonel Tom Parker article?
No, I don't have any stories coming up because I start vacation soon. And I would say no animal related no animal related stories coming up. But when I do, I'll make sure I let you know.
Well, you get a nice 3-week break and no articles, anything that you're keeping in your back pocket. Hey, folks, follow Paul Guzzo. Just go to Tampa Bay Times. He has a link there. You can email him. You can probably see links to past articles too, right?
Yeah, anything that I've ever written, tampabay.com.
Super. Thank you so much, Paul, for writing that article and for being on our 4All podcast.
I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right. There we go. Awesome. One segment in, a little bit about the Tampa dog catcher, Colonel Tom Parker. One of those moments, at least for me, where you're like, well, I'll be darned. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back with Kip Koelsch, and he's talking about his books that he's authored, and also he'll possibly introduce us, if they cooperate, to some of his cats at home. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the 4All podcast. Natalie, how are you doing?
Good, how are you, Eric?
Thanks, Eric. We are down in the pasture with Wilbur. This is Alexis.
National Puppy Day, and our special guest is the mayor of St. Pete, Mayor Kip Koelsch. How you doing? Welcome back to the 4All podcast. Time now to talk to Kip Koelsch. Kip and I probably go back, can you remember those days, Kip, way back when we were talking about Pasco County and bringing an event to the Little Everglades Ranch. You remember that?
I do remember that, Eric, back when I worked for Ironman, World Triathlon Corporation. Yeah.
Those were some interesting times in trying to bring events to Pasco County, but that's a different world. We're here to talk about animal care and we're
both in completely different places right now, right?
Yeah, we are. All for the betterment of the animals in our care here in the Tampa Bay area. So
Absolutely.
Kip is an award-winning writer with 2 techno thrillers, Wendell's Lullaby and Delphis Rising. Kip, Welcome to the For All podcast. Please share a little bit about these novels that anyone can get on Amazon, because you're now the second or possibly third novelist and author that we've had here on the program,
Sure.
whether they're talking about techno thrillers or thrillers like in the form of Stranger Things or time travel, but they
Right.
all somehow have relations to animals, whether they're marine animals or they're have four legs and they walk around the house.
Yeah, amazingly, my novels all have to do with the marine environment. The first two, Wendell's Lullaby and Delphus Rising, both deal a lot with dolphins and whales, cetaceans. I was sort of a wannabe marine biologist growing up. I was raised on National Geographic and the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. So that was, a big part of my formation of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I wanted to be a marine biologist for the longest period of time. And when I got to college, that changed, mainly because I struggled a little bit with the higher math and decided to get a degree in journalism and mass media instead. So that certainly helped me with my writing in the future. I did some volunteer work at Mote Marine Lab in Sarasota when I lived down that way. So some of the information in especially Wendell's Lullaby is from very much firsthand experience, being a part of their marine mammal volunteer program, rescuing and holding dolphins, and just being a part of that whole wonderful situation that they have down there.
Kip, earlier we were talking with Paul Guzzo from the Tampa Bay Times about Colonel Tom Parker and connections. And, that was always in the back of my head. It was always the front man was Elvis Presley. And talking to you, you brought up another name in this conversation is Jacques Cousteau. I can remember being a little kid and watching him on network television.
Oh, yeah.
How long was he on network television? Because his show used to attract people of, all ages and all types to watch his adventures.
Yeah, I know the first movies he was making, the Silent World, I want to say was either the late 50s or early 60s. Eventually he pitched, the primetime show, I think it was to ABC. And he had to be on TV, at least in some respect, on a regular basis through the late 70s. And then I think it turned into more of a period every once in a while thing. But just a huge influence on a lot of people who were interested in the marine environment, and towards his later years, much more focused on, environmental protection and protection of the oceans in general.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, definitely those themes, my books definitely have an undercurrent of, environmental protection and conservation within the themes of the work themselves.
Are all your books connected?
The first, they are in a way. The first two, so Wendell's Lullaby takes place at a specific period of time. Delphus Rising takes some of the same characters from that book, and it's basically a leap 10 years into their future. So some of the people have dropped out of the story. Some other characters have been added in. My two other books that I actually have out now are part of a science fiction series that takes place in a universe where instead of having space between planets, it's water, and whales are out in space and dolphins are in space. And it's definitely a bigger leap than the thrillers that I've written.
Well, I find them, fascinating, and that you take the time. Earlier with Paul, I should have asked him, how long does it take him to write his article? How long does it take you? I'm always fascinated by the answer from an author, to put one of these together.
Yeah, the first book, the Wendell's Lullaby, I started writing about 2007 and had it about 98% complete by about 2010. Had some changes in my life take place, and I set it aside for a while. And I had actually shopped it around to agents and some publishers, and had a little bit of interest, but nobody who really took it on. So I set it aside. In 2017, I revisited it, and self-publishing had changed a lot in 10 years. So I was able to get it finished and self-publish it. And I think to actually write the follow-up, Delphus Rising, it took me about a year and a half. And a big part of that is doing research, obviously, for these types of books, because they're science thrillers. There's a lot of fact-based information in there, as well as creative fiction from my mind.
So I know that you also have some cats at home. Any
Yes.
chance in the future that
I'm even wearing my cat dad shirt today.
Any chance that you start going from, because I know that you love marine animals.
Mhm.
Any chance that you start adding in more about cats and dogs and write about that with future projects that you may
Sure.
have?
Yeah, I actually have one short story that's actually out there on Amazon. It's called Forever Sleep, and it's a little bit of a sort of dystopian future sci-fi story. It does have one of my cats in it. One of the ones that I had in the past, his name is Harpo, and I actually have a tattoo of him on my arm. He was my boy, and so he's memorialized a little bit in that short story. It's a sad short story to warn people, both for the human character and the cat character. But I'd like to be able to include. I've got some stories started, stored in files on my computer that have had some cats in them as well, and some cat-based stories. But for some reason, the larger stories at this point in time still are sort of marine-based, marine animal-based.
So how do we get copies of these if folks are interested? I know Amazon gives you great reviews.
Yep, Amazon. Everything I have right now is available on Amazon, or you can. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can message me through those, and I actually have paperback copies. If people wanted to have paperback copies of books that they want signed, I can sign them and I can ship them to them myself.
And they have Kindle versions as well.
Yes,
is Kindle
Kindle
still a
version,
thing?
everything's in Kindle as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, is Kindle still a thing?
The majority of the books I sell are still Kindle.
Wow,
Amazing.
awesome.
I still like to have the real books in my hand, but
right. Yeah.
Still probably, I would say almost 80% of the books I sell, especially through Amazon, are for Kindle.
Yeah, I'm just like you, Kip. I like having the physical book. My son, we're getting ready to go on vacation, and we'll probably buy a couple of books. My son will buy a couple of books on his own, and he'll read them in the car ride,
right?
Or by the time we come back. And for me, I'm a very casual reader. That's why I like to have the physical book. But he is a physical book reader as well.
Right.
Anything you can tell us about your cats right now that you have? I don't think they're going to make a guest appearance.
Yeah, I don't know whether anybody's going to come in and visit or not. I had Loli here earlier. So we've got 4 cats now. They're all rescues. 2 came from the Humane Society in Pinellas County on the same day. We went in looking and asked for their hardest luck case, and we ended up getting Daryl, he's a big orange cat, and he's our shy boy. And at the same time, we got Loli, or we call her Loli Grace, and she's a Flame Point Siamese. She had only been there, she'd only been in the enclosure for about overnight, and she came up and put her paws on my jeans, looked up at me with blue eyes, and that was it. She's our oh, here she comes. My wife's passing. Awesome. This is Loli. Oh, hi, Lo. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
This is Loli Grace.
That's a good looking cat.
A little strange. She sleeps with us just about every night, and she's our she's gonna go now, but she's our therapy cat. She's the one who knows if we're feeling down or had a rough day. She's the one who's always there to comfort us. We've got 2 other boys. We've got Ketty Vetter, who came from a rescue group over in the eastern part of Hillsborough County. and Hamish, we call him Hamish Wimbish. He is a Turkish van who was, we got him with whatever shelter group works also through Petco. So they're all shelter cats, and they're our children. We don't have any children of our own, so we're crazy cat people because they're our family.
Well, they are. They let you know when we're hungry, and
oh yeah, they're our alarm clock.
Do they each have their own separate personalities, or any of them like to go outside and the other one's just a totally inside cat? Or
we're proponents of having them totally indoor cats. For us, we feel it's the safer option for them, and feel like they'll have a healthier, longer life. So we have when we renovated our home here in Dunedin, we added a lanai, but the lanai is essentially the cat room so that they can have some outdoor experience. It's also their litter room. But they do all have different personalities. Loli is, like I said, she's sort of the nurturer and the mother of the group, and the mother for us sometimes. And Hamish is the most cat-like. He's the one who, he's just, a little bit more finicky than the rest. Ketty Vetter, we call him Ketty Chaos sometimes. He's our youngest, and he's the one who dashes around the house and instigates with everybody else. And then he'll flop down like this wet noodle on the cat tree and just go sort of limp. And Daryl, like I said, he's our hard luck case. He's, there's only certain situations where I can even really pet him, just because for some reason he had the year or two that he was out on his own before he was left at the shelter, supposedly in a wet cardboard box on the stoop in the rain. Is what they told us. And so he's fairly shy. It's a challenge for us to kind of corral him for when we need to take him to his regular vet visits.
Well, it sounds like they're in great hands with you and your wife, and they're definitely being kept cool since they're inside, because our final segment here on the show is having one of our veterinarians, Dr. Schiess, talking about heat exhaustion with pets, and Camille, and our behavioral specialist, Stephanie, has one of our dogs, Kiko, to talk about how to do some fun things to keep the animals cool. That's for the dogs mainly, and I'm pretty sure some cats that go outside.
Yeah.
Because, man, it is hot around here.
And, it always surprises me because, they have a cat door to the lanai, and they love to go out there even when it's hot. They'll lay on the cool concrete and come back in, but they still feel like they've been out in, 90 or 91 degrees. For some reason, they still like to be out there for part of the day.
But they know when to come back inside.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They're like, we're done.
When they hear the food dish or the treats.
Anything else to add about your works on Amazon and anything on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of finishing up the third book in my science fiction trilogy, which is, like I said, it's based in an alternate universe. That's sort of an ocean universe. Hopefully I'll have that out before the end of the summer. Still a lot of work to do, but getting there slowly. And looking forward to, when I'm done with that, writing some more short stories, which will hopefully allow me to do a little bit more work on some of the cat stories that I've started.
That is awesome. Well, folks, we'll have links on our social media for Kip and for the earlier story. I know our staff put those up there for Paul Guzzo and his story at Tampa Bay Times. And Kip, I know you were backstage listening to that interview. I don't know. I guess you could hear everything. Are you going to see the Elvis movie?
What's that?
You're going to see the Elvis movie.
Yeah, seeing it this afternoon. So I'll give my rating later.
Awesome. They
Thanks
love those.
So much, Eric.
No, thank you, Kip, and best of luck. And I'm pretty sure sometimes our paths do cross when he's out on the Dunedin Causeway in the water, but I keep it on the causeway on the trail. Thank you, Kip.
I see you running by every once in a while.
There you go. I don't run as fast as I used to.
Well, you're still a blur compared to me, so.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. All right, 2 great interviews in the books already. But when we come back, some important pet health stuff for your animals, especially if they are heading outside in the heat. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the For All podcast. Natalie, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, Eric?
Thanks, Eric. We are down in the pasture with Wilbur. This is Alexis.
National Puppy Day, and our special guest is the mayor of St. Pete, Mayor Kip Koelsch. How you doing? Welcome back to the For All podcast. My name is Eric Keaton. We are live on YouTube and social media with Facebook, broadcasting about every 2 weeks from our For All shelter in Largo. And we also have a pet hospital down in St. Pete. And we always go to them when it's time to hear about tips for keeping our pets healthy and safe, especially safe from the heat. Here's Dr. Rebecca Schiess.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rebecca Schiess with the SPCA Tampa Bay Veterinary Center. The summer season is right around the corner, so let's talk about keeping your pets cool. Florida's hot temperatures means finding ways to keep cool, like keeping the air conditioning running and staying hydrated. Protecting your pets against the heat is just as important. Heat is dangerous for pets because their bodies don't regulate temperature the same way as humans. Because pets have fur, they don't sweat. Instead, they cool themselves by panting, which is a much slower process for cooling the body. Here are some tips to help keep your pets safe. Keep your pets cool in the shade. We have many pet-friendly restaurant patios from Dunedin to St. Pete. Retailers and festivals also provide more options than ever for pets to join their owners for daily activities. These shared activities are great for bonding with your pet, but you'll need to find a shady spot for them to escape the sun and bring plenty of fresh water with you. Check the event you're attending to make sure they have accommodations for pets. Additionally, if you're enjoying the pool time or playtime in your backyard, consider giving pets a break to cool off indoors. Too much time in the sun can put them at risk for heat stroke. It may not be as much fun, but consider leaving your pets at home. Errands before or after visiting a pet-friendly venue can be dangerous for your pet. A quick trip to the bank or a stop at the grocery store can easily turn into 10 minutes or more, and you may be forced to leave your pet alone in the car longer than you anticipated. This poses a risk because the temperature in the vehicle can rise by 20 degrees in as little as 10 minutes. In only 15 minutes, a pet left inside a hot car can sustain brain damage or even die from heat stroke. If you must take your pet with you on errands, keep the car running with the air conditioning turned on. When you take your pup for a walk, consider going in the early morning or evening hours. Concrete pavement, blacktop surfaces, and bricks can heat up quickly in the sun and burn your pet's paws, a painful accident that veterinarians see often. Avoid walking or running with your dog in the middle of the day. When the sun is at its strongest, the temperatures are at their peak. Surfaces can be cooler along with the air temperatures in the mornings and evening hours. Refrain from taking your pet on bike rides. Having your dog run alongside your bike can be dangerous for you and your pet. Your attention is split between keeping control of both your dog and your bike, making it more likely that you could have an accident. Because you're focused on potential road hazards, you may not pick up on cues that your dog is tired or overheated as quickly as you would during a walk. And finally, and most important, is to know the signs of heat stroke. Early signs of heat stroke can be subtle, such as your pet seeming less responsive than normal to general commands. Clear symptoms can include heavy panting, lethargy, lack of appetite, a dark tongue, a rapid heartbeat, fever, dry mucus, restlessness, vomiting, bloody diarrhea, excessive thirst, thick saliva, and lack of communication. Pets can exhibit one or all of these symptoms during heat stroke. If you think your pet is experiencing heat exhaustion or stroke, rush to the nearest veterinarian or animal hospital. The most important thing to do is get your pet to the nearest vet as quickly as possible for treatment. Use your GPS to find the nearest vet or animal hospital immediately. If it's the weekend or a holiday, Google search for the nearest animal emergency clinic. On your way to the veterinarian, you can start lowering your pet's body temperature by placing wet towels or ice packs wrapped in towels along your pet's chest, abdomen, or neck. Let your pet drink small amounts of water or lick some ice cubes. For more information on pet health and other pet blog topics, visit our website.
Thank you, Doc. That was outstanding. Let's keep this topic going, and let's talk to three people. Well, actually, two people and an animal, Camille, Steph, and one of our adoptable animals, Kiko.
Thanks, Eric. So I'm here with Stephanie, our behavior expert, and sweet Kiko. Stephanie, what can you tell us about Kiko here?
Kiko is a 5-year-old lab mix. He has been here since about the end of April, so about 2 months now. He's a very sweet and friendly dog. He loves to play in the pool and some toys. He knows basic commands, like he knows sit. Kiko, sit. Come here. Sit.
Oh, good boy.
And he knows down. Down. Good boy. He's a very smart dog. Even though he's 5, he still has a lot of tricks left to learn. Oh, and he just gave me paw, so it seems like he knows that as well.
Good boy.
Some of his favorite activities include swimming, so it's a great way for him to stay cool during the summertime since it gets especially hot.
Yes, definitely. So that's what I want to talk about Kiko. That's what I would love to talk about next. Some different ways that Kiko and other dogs can keep cool in the summer, some fun things that they can do with their owners, or different maybe treats that they can have during the summer to help them stay cool. So we have this awesome pool set up for Kiko back here, and he is in love with it. Hey, Kiko! So one of the things that Stephanie has suggested is to toss a couple treats into the water for him to find. And you can see he smells them, he's looking, but that ball seems to be his priority right now, but he's having a good old time. So yes, if you have a little kiddie pool, doggy pool, you can set up for your dog in your backyard, or you can take them to the beach and set up a sprinkler for them, whatever you have access to. If your dog is a water dog, those are all great ideas to keep them cool during the summer. And is that nice? Does that feel good? So those are all some fun ideas that you can do for your dog to keep them cool in the summer. Is there anything else, Stephanie, that you do for our dogs here at the shelter to help them stay cool?
So some of the fun things we do is create popsicles for the dogs. They vary in sizes between, large popsicles and smaller ones for the smaller dogs. So you would just take, an ordinary popsicle mold, and you can fill it with your dog's, favorite treats. Some of the best options to do, would be diluted chicken broth or bone broth. We're using peanut butter right now, some diluted peanut butter, and mix it with water so it makes it easier to slide out of the molds. And then you just, top it with milk bone or something, as like the popsicle stick would be.
Super fun. I love that.
Yeah, it definitely helps keep the doggies cool during the hotter months. And it gives them something to do Most, for the dogs that don't try to just chew it right away, they'll have to lick it like you would like an ice cream cone.
Right. That's awesome. And I think I have seen you make some fun things like that for the cats too, on a smaller scale, of course.
Yes, for cats, I have been making little ice cubes, if you will, for the cats with those little go-gurt-like tubes.
Yeah, that's
that
awesome.
The kittens enjoy. Helps keep them cool as well.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for all that great information. And like I said, if you are interested in Kiko, he is available for adoption. He is a 5-year-old Lab Retriever mix, and he is available for $125. You can come meet him at 1 p.m. We're open until 6 today, and he is so excited to see everybody. So come meet him. Bring your pup if you have one. Back to you, Eric.
Awesome. Great job, staff. Great job, Kiko. Perfect on camera. Come on, folks. Kiko's going home today on Wednesday, June 29th, as we air this program live. Okay, continuing the heat topic. Every time we have a podcast, we also give away Tampa Bay Rowdies tickets. Roll that beautiful Tampa Bay Rowdies intro. Facebook and Instagram, which, by the way, we had 203 responses. Let me say that again. 203 responses. The question, which usually airs a couple of days or possibly the Friday before we go into the weekend for our podcast, answer correctly for a chance to win 2 Tampa Bay Rowdies tickets. I believe they have a game coming up. So if you are the winner, just email or go back in and message via the social media platform of your choice, probably the one that you answered the question on. When the air temperature is 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which hasn't been 86, I guess, it's hotter than 86 right now, so keep that in mind when I'm reading this. When the air temperature is 86, the asphalt temperature is 86, 91, 106, or 135. Well, we had 203 people answer, and the answer is a very hot 135. So let's see who is going to win these tickets to the Tampa Bay Rowdies game again. Message us or email and information at spcatampabay.org. It is original. Hopefully I said that right, or that's code for something that is probably very special to you on social media. There we have it. Another For All podcast. We had interviews with Paul Guzzo from the Tampa Bay Times talking about the Elvis movie and the Tampa dog catcher connection with Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager for basically his entire career. And then we had Kip on talking about his novels and his upcoming novel, and introduced us to at least one of his cats. He is a big-time cat dad. And amazing how both of those guys had rescues. That's awesome. We definitely love that. We hope somebody comes in to the SPCA Tampa Bay today and rescues Kiko, because he definitely knows how to stay fun in the hot weather. As long as you have a little kiddie pool or another pool, and also some, what they call them, pup-sickles. Not popsicles, but pup-sickles as well. That's going to do it for this For All podcast. Thank all of our team for contributing and making these programs work. You can follow us on Facebook and especially YouTube. Go there to watch past episodes of our video podcast. And of course, you can go to Spotify or Google to download the audio version as well. I believe this is episode number 26. We are growing, folks. Thank you again. And if you have an interview or a story idea, just either email it to information@spcatampabay.org or podcast at spcatampabay.org. And that's spelled PAWDCAST. Thanks for watching and listening.